We've got our board members. We do not have Jane Coffey with us tonight, so it will be a 4-member board voting on this. Are you okay with that, Syed?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So we've had the draft decision, and I know it's gone back. Bob, you had some comments. Drew reviewed it. Suzanne, did you submit any comments? Did you want to have anything to discuss? I added a couple things, and I do want to discuss those tonight just quickly.
I did want to discuss the dog thing because Syed wasn't sure. He likes cats. I did get that out of him. And
I'm actually more of a dog guy.
I'm a dog person. They're sitting right next to me. But anyway, I was concerned because I remember conservation did put something in their order of conditions about that you weren't to utilize that area in the back, the grassy area. I don't know how to control this because I don't want them going on other people's property either.
Yeah, the order of conditions, they didn't list any restriction on the dogs playing in the back or running around. They just made us put, I believe, 2 no alteration signs at the 25-foot buffer. Kevin can add to that if I'm mistaken. But that's all they had for conditions. They didn't say the dogs can't go to the back. They did have a discussion of, picking up after the dog, but I guess that's already in the bylaw, so we didn't have to put that in the order of conditions. But there isn't any restriction as far as I know with the Conservation Commission on the dogs going to the back.
And so what's the game plan going to be for all the little shits out back on the grass?
The owners are going to have to pick them up after them, just as they would any other place.
Well, most apartment buildings with that many units don't allow dogs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm concerned about. And at least in Walpole, they don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to go back to management at that point. We'll figure it out. But what's the question? That we're not going to allow dogs, or they can't play outside?
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't. Number one, for safety, because there's no place for them to walk.
Okay.
I mean, where are they going to go? They're going to have to throw them in their car in the cellar and then take them off.
Okay.
There, I would think. I mean, I got dogs and I wouldn't walk them around that property. They can't run, and you got cars, I mean, at night you could take them out for a quickie, but I just didn't know how. I mean, you got 16 units. You could end up with 32 dogs out there. You don't know.
Oh, everything's possible.
Right. That's what I'm trying to go with that, because I just don't know. I mean, I guess it's on the HOA. I just don't know how to control it. And I don't want you going over to Donkey's property, and I don't want you going to the car wash. And I'm sure you don't want anybody going to those properties.
No, of course not.
Are those properties going to be fenced so that the occupants can't walk through the Donkeys? Is there going to be a gate or something?
I don't believe we have fencing around the property, but we do have the shrubbery, like you saw in the landscape design. There is shrubbery all around the property.
Because I remember Billy was concerned he didn't want any extra parking on his property.
Yeah, I remember that. Bill did mention that in our first meeting when we were in town hall about I know, if I'm not mistaken, it was the pizza shop had landscape trailers and stuff that usually park in his lot. Well, we're not going to have the pizza shop there anymore, so that shouldn't be an issue as far as parking goes. Well,
you have no guest parking too, so I'm worried about that. That's why I'm thinking maybe there should be some kind of fence, because you have no guest parking and you're upfront about it. I got none.
Yeah,
I have none. That's what you said. And so I'm thinking, if I'm a girl or a human and I live there and I want to have my girlfriends over for lunch and it's busy downstairs, I'm kind of screwed. And I guess they can park at Bristol Square maybe and try to run across the street and not get killed, but not a fun time for the girls to have some quiche. So I just wasn't sure how the game plan was going to be. I just don't want you using Billy's parking lot either.
Yeah, I mean, I know at Bill's parking lot, they have, no parking signs, and, unauthorized parking will be towed. They have that all posted along the side there. as far as fencing goes, we didn't have that in our design, just to give it a softer look. Going back to the feedback that you guys gave us, I think it was back in May. So we ended up going with the bushes and the shrubs along the left side. The right side does not have, I think it has a slight incline to it, about 16, 17 inches as you're going in on the right-hand side. So there's somewhat of a retaining wall there. It's not a fence, but it's a little bit of a jump to go down towards the property next door. Yeah. But as far as fencing and stuff like that, people are gonna have to keep their dogs, if they have dogs, in our yard, if they're gonna take them for a walk. But most people would just go for a walk on the sidewalk somewhere. There's not much space in the back anyways to walk the dog.
Yeah, my dogs would freak if they ever had to go out on that highway.
Yeah, but, apartments are tough with dogs.
Yeah.
We all agree on that.
That's why I was hoping you'd say no when I first, and it would keep them cleaner.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for sure.
I'll definitely entertain that. It's not something it would encourage in an apartment. I know I've had dogs in the past, and you need a yard.
Yeah.
You need a yard.
You don't have a yard, and
exactly. And you could have 32 dogs. That's what I'm worried about.
No, yeah, and this is the time to address the issue, because if we don't address it now, it has the potential to become a problem for everybody. And I know it limits the rental pool that you might have, but I'm not just concerned about the cleanliness. I'm concerned about people, with their dogs out on the busy road. I'm trying to think where else we have an apartment building 25 feet from a road this busy.
That allows dogs.
Yeah.
None in my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the reason why I always leave it open-ended, it depends on the type of dog. A smaller dog ain't gonna get bothered too much by an apartment. A bigger dog, is gonna want a yard. So it's one of those things where in the past I've always kept it up to management to judge each situation separate. Typically, we don't like to have pets in the apartments. That's as far as landlords go. We don't like to have pets in apartments. But at the same time, we got to be realistic of people's sensitivity towards having their pet and not being able to move in with their pet. There's all different types of dogs. I don't want to have to rule it out, but we do look into that when when prospective tenants coming along, and if they have a Rottweiler, obviously we're gonna have issues. If they have a Golden Retriever, it's a very different story. There's a lot of different types of dogs, and I just don't want to. It's just a sensitive topic. People with their pets, depends on the type of pet. And I always deal with each prospective tenant based on their situation, what the pet is, and so forth.
Yeah, but when you walk away, the HOA comes in and you're done. You're moved on to the next parcel that you'll build out. And I need to kind of have something in ink so that I'm not worried about the 32 dogs that might move in there and get their. You're lucky there is a vet. I'll give you that. There's one right down the street. But I don't know.
Suzanne, I totally see your concerns. I'd be okay if we add it as a condition, if the board members think it's necessary. So, Bob, what's your thoughts, and Drew, your thoughts on this?
Well, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. I think ultimately the pet owners, have to take responsibility for their own pets, and how do you prejudge that? I really don't know. So putting a blanket prohibition is certainly one way to prevent against it, but I also feel like I guess I don't know enough about how much that shrinks the rental pool to see how much of an impact it has on the viability of the project. So I guess I'm agnostic at this point.
I have seen a poundage limit before in apartment buildings. I think one of my kids, one that lived in the Bronx, had an apartment, and there was like a 30-pound, if I'm correct. There was something to keep the rat happy. You know,
That's actually a smart idea. I mean, that could actually work. That could actually work. If you have a pound limit on a dog, I think we can make that work.
I mean, if you have a golden retriever in that apartment all day long and that person brings it outside, that sucker's going to want to run like hell.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
they're just worried it's going to run out into 1A. I mean, I'm not looking to stop this at all. It's like
No,
they're right next to
we're
me.
on the same, Suzanne, we're on the same page 100%. It's just the sensitivity, because I have pets, I have chickens at home. I know like people have sensitivity towards them, and I'm trying to be sensitive towards the animal that they bring, with their pet, what type of animal it is, and so forth. But at the same time, we got to be realistic. They are on 1A. You know, a big dog is a very different story than a small dog that can be managed. They don't need that much more space, so forth. But yeah, I think the wording like that, Mr. Chairman, might work if you want to put that in. I don't mind that.
I would also include an out to not discriminate against pets that are associated with
Service dogs.
Yeah,
Service dogs, yeah.
right. So,
That works.
so if we could make point 14, Ashley, if you'd add something, and we can work the exact wording out so that it's perfect, but what's the weight limit that people are comfortable with?
I saw 30 in my daughter's apartment building in the Bronx.
Okay, so let's go.
That's the only one I know. I don't have a 30-pound dog. Mine's 110, one of them.
Let's go.
He'd actually hurt the cars that were hitting him on 1A.
Well, no dogs larger than 30 pounds, and service dogs or service animals allowed.
Yeah, good.
Okay, Ashley, you got that? So that
Thank
was
you.
the condition 14.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. And Drew, any thoughts on any of this?
No, I agree with what was stated. I think service dogs is really my main goal, making sure that we're not excluding anyone that has a service dog. But I agree, you know, the bigger the dog, the bigger the mess, the bigger control is needed. So I think 30 pounds is absolutely, you know, a good area to start with there.
Yep.
So I'll put in the 30 pounds and say something or otherwise permiss allowable by law and reference that.
Yeah. That's what I meant by, you know, just tightening up the exact wording so we don't have any discrimination or anything. So the other two things that I did want to, you know, I think we're pretty good with all the other conditions. The two that I added was the applicant, this is number 12, the applicant shall work with Mass DOT to determine the best safe location for a crosswalk for the building located at the site. Applicant shall pay all costs for the sidewalk and associated signage and lighting. And actually, I know you haven't been in town that long, and I got your email earlier about you didn't think it was, you know, necessary. It is necessary because a young woman, a girl, was killed not far from there, and that's something that I think the zoning board wants to make sure that the traffic issues get looked at, particularly the pedestrian issues there. So
Chairman Lee, can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand I have not been in Walpole that long, and I do not have a background in engineering or transportation engineering, which is why I consulted with our town engineer and asked for his insight and his opinion. We looked at, we talked about it, the fact that the speed limit here is 40 miles an hour. And if I could just show, I'll just share this screen really quick. I just want to be clear about what is being asked of the applicant here. So can everyone see the map?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all very familiar with this. Part of the problem is that there's no existing sidewalk connection.
No.
And so if you were to do a crosswalk here, you'd be going into the driveway, which you can't do. It's not, you can't do a crosswalk into a driveway. It's not the applicant's property. He doesn't control it. So then you're like, where would a realistic crosswalk go that would serve this development? If you go down and you look, there's really no, so when I talked to the town engineer about this, like a crosswalk here would need to be a part of a larger kind of corridor plan that the DOT would take over, because this 1A isn't even the town, like the town doesn't control this. So it could be that the DOT says, absolutely not, we're not approving a crosswalk there. It doesn't, it's 40 miles an hour. They generally are against mid-block crosswalks and want crosswalks that stop at corners and at stoplights. So I don't want to condition this project with a condition that can never actually happen. So my recommendation is that you either remove the condition or qualify it to say if DOT says it's a no-go, then the condition is satisfied.
Right. And if you look how I worded it, that's exactly what I have done on this. It says, the condition says the applicant shall work with Mass DOT to determine the best safe location. And they might determine that the best safe location is at down by Norfolk Street. I'm okay with that.
But so then you're not servicing the development, and then I said it needs to either be on the property or close to the property in order for it to be a condition that's appropriate. It needs to have a direct connection.
And with 32, with 16 units going in there, and the Bristol Square right across the street, I see the need for safety under what we're doing, the site plan here, is to make sure that it's looked at to find out where, if in the future they start developing, sidewalks in the area, crosswalks, anything like that, that it's in the decision. It is, I want it in there so that it shows that the zoning board did look at this, and that we want to, whatever is determined, not by us, not by you, not by the town engineer, but by Mass DOT, the best safe location for a crosswalk, it should be in there. And if they come back and say, there's no good place around here, I want them to say that, but it's not going to be, I don't think it should be from the zoning board.
Chairman,
Yes.
when we looked at the map there just recently, I can only note that the pediatrician's office happens to be directly across the street. And as a concern of Suzanne's was there is no guest parking. So my fear, I guess, would be, if there was overflow parking utilized by guests at that property into the pediatrician's office, are we now going to put at risk children going to the pediatrician, walking around from Bristol Square? I absolutely agree 100% that there needs to be some sort of thought put into that. If they said that they had adequate guest parking, I guess I would probably not really blink an eye at it, but where they're saying, if anyone was to come over and it should be definitely thought about, I guess, is my concern.
Right. And this is not going to stop the project. It is going to make it so that it shows that the zoning board looked at this, and we want the applicant to continue looking at this, because it is a serious safety issue along there, particularly when we introduce residential right there. So, Bob, your thoughts on that?
I think I agree with you that that it was something that's come up, and that there is a real issue with the number of people that will be living at this development, as well as the customers or whomever might be working in a commercial space. It will be enticing for people to want to sort of run across Route 1A, and so I guess I would suggest maybe a slightly softer language in the condition, because it doesn't really, as I read it, it doesn't really allow for there is no safe location. It just says whatever the best safe location is, there's going to be a crosswalk there. So I think maybe the best we can ask is that the applicant work with Mass DOT but not require that any crosswalk be installed unless directed by Mass DOT.
Bob, let me just chime in just for a second, Mr. Chairman. We did look into it, and we did talk to Mass DOT, so we do have some information about what their feelings are. We all agree, including Mass DOT, that crosswalks save lives, and they definitely help in this type of scenario. This business is on both sides of the road. Everybody's on the same page in that regard. What they have told us is that our site, as far as our site's concerned, we don't have much space to work with between the curb cuts to get a reasonable, crosswalk to the other side of the road, and it would end up in the driveway of Bristol Cafe on the other end. And then there are other concerns that there is no sidewalk on the other end of the street, on the other side of the street. 40 mile per hour speed limit's very high. They don't, it doesn't really work with crosswalks. This is what came from Mass DOT. And another thing, if you notice on the Google Earth picture there, it's a passing lane. Despite all that, at the least, let them do a double line there. So yeah, it's actually a passing lane. It's incredible. We're here. We're definitely thinking about crosswalks and things like that. But that's what the reality of it there is, that it's a passing lane, 40 mile per hour speed limit, and there's no sidewalk on the other end. So it's a project in of itself, just to get this whole street straightened out. I did add one of the conditions that we discussed last time was the sidewalk in front of our proposed project, and we did put that in there that we're going to maintain that just so we can have, in the future when other developments happen around us, that we're going to have, straight sidewalks on both sides. And at that point, maybe if something comes up in the future and they figure out a way to redevelop the whole street to get the sidewalks in, and they might find an appropriate spot for a crosswalk. But what we have for information is they're telling us it's highly unlikely that our property can serve as a crosswalk spot to the other side. Adding on to what Bob is saying too, my main concern, we've done all this work. I don't want to get to a condition that I can't fulfill and it kills the project. And it literally will kill the project if one of the conditions can't be met.
Right. First off, that's not what this is about. This is absolute. I'll tell you right now.
I know that. I know that. But it's just the wording is my concern.
Then, as Bob said, maybe make it a little softer. But I think we need to say that in this decision that we did look at it. The applicant, Syed, you looked at it. We're not requiring it. I'm okay softening it up if necessary, but I wanted it should be in here that we did look at it, and that if there's a way in the future for a crosswalk to go in the area, then it's on you to work with Mass DOT to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board on that because we all have the same concern, and it serves our building. At the end of the day, these are our customers, our tenants. It serves our building, so we're not against that. But
future residents of the town, that's really what we're looking at, is what's going to protect future residents of the town.
Yeah.
If you want to, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Suzanne.
Yeah. The wording is really what it all comes down to right here, and I definitely want to put something in there. It's just the language of how we put it in so that it does not cause issues for us, with financing and other things that I think of with construction loans. You don't want that, banks and so forth, and that's my main concern when I say that it's going to get held up, not by you, but by others who look at it and say, well, you haven't met these conditions. So if you want the wording to be softer, we are willing to work with DOT if there is a spot where we can do a crosswalk. We would be willing to work with them in the future. So if the opportunity presents itself, we'll embrace it. But we don't want to make it as a you shall get this in order to get.
So how do we put that in? How do we put that into words that protect future residents of the town?
Trying to think think how.
Well, if I could make a suggestion, John, oftentimes when they're going to need an access permit from DOT, and they will often condition those permits with offsite mitigation if they think it's necessary. So if they were a new traffic signal, I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but they would condition their approval for the curb cut essentially to construct or install whatever sort of operating traffic calming, whatever. So we could word it in a way that maybe just asks them to investigate, off-site mitigation that would consist of a crosswalk at an appropriate location, somewhere near the I don't know exactly what the wording right here, but if it's ultimately, as you say, going to be a Mass DOT determination, and we can encourage them to take a close look at it. But I think that's about as far as we can take it.
I mean, I'd be okay following up what Bob's saying. If you want, we can just say that we can put in a request with Mass DOT to look into putting a crosswalk on the street, and we'll leave it up to them. If we need to work with them, we'll work with them. And if they find at the end of the day that our site works and the driveway across the street, they change the curb cut there when they put new sidewalks or whatever they may do in the future, like I put in that condition that I had there, because we did discuss this. I did put that we're going to keep our sidewalks there. If they serve for a great crosswalk, if something changes across the street with a new layout, we're all for it. We're all for it. But like Bob's saying, the ultimate say is for Mass DOT regarding even our sidewalks, the sidewalks across the street itself. So we're just going to have to keep it in their hands, I guess, in the decision letter there. But I think we should include something just to show that we actually do care in that sense. Like you're saying, Mr. Chairman, it's, we have some responsibility, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's their call, Mass DOT.
But it's your responsibility.
Well, so
It's Syed's responsibility, though. I mean, he's the one that picked the lot at 40 miles an hour in a passing zone. We didn't pick it.
right. So
Right. I would just say to that, though, that the jurisdiction over the traffic and pedestrian access is all with DOT, not with the town.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while he picked that site, the site happens to be under Mass DOT jurisdiction. So
right.
I'm wholeheartedly in favor of looking at ways to get pedestrians safely across
Definitely.
Route 1A. I just think
So how do you work, Bob? You're gifted with the words usually, and I tried, and the reason I worded it the way I did was work with Mass DOT to determine the best safe location for a crosswalk, and it's up to Mass DOT to determine where the best safe location is. I wasn't thinking, Syed, of your issues where for funding somebody might say, well, this is a holdup. So how do you soften that? How do we soften that, but at the same time make it so that not just in 2020 this is being addressed, but as things go forward that it's addressed. So could go with the old from shall to should, which I that's a weasel word right there, but I'm fine. I want it in here that the zoning board recognizes that this is an area of concern.
So do you think, Bob, you might be able to wordsmith it over the next day or so, and Carolee, we can review the final word? I think that we all understand what the end goal is. So Bob, if you would be okay wordsmithing it for the decision, and then Chairman, you could see the final wording before it's signed and filed.
Yeah, I think we can clearly state our concern, and then we could also say, and we also recognize that this is Mass DOT jurisdiction, so we encourage the applicant to do X, Y, Z in conjunction with permitting with Mass DOT, something along those lines. So that it's clear we saw it, we're flagging it, we're concerned about it, but unfortunately, we don't have jurisdiction.
Right, and also the applicant doesn't have full jurisdiction, you know,
Right.
of this. They have
Right.
their property. So, okay, so we'll still keep 12 in there until we get it reworded, Bob, and I'd like to see that before. Do you mind doing that? Do you think you can come up?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one, I know we spent a lot of time talking about cars backing up onto Route 1A, and this is going into the garage, not into the parking lot. I think we were okay with that, but into the garage. And I've done this before in other towns. Basically, if it becomes an issue, giving the chief of police or his or her designee the right to mandate that in this case, the garage door remain open permanently because of safety concerns. Now, Suzanne, I know you're concerned about people accessing in and out of there, but what's your thoughts on this?
On keeping the door open?
Yeah,
If there's a queuing.
yeah, if we find out that at 5 o'clock there's an accident out there because people are queued up, I want to have a mechanism that we can get that resolved.
Yeah.
Other board members, Drew, Bob, your thoughts? Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that could be potentially a serious issue, but, I think some sort of wordage in there that would kind of give the ability to regulate that down the road if it does become an issue, because it may very well not be. I think that would be beneficial for the town of Walpole.
Okay. Yeah. And
I would agree. I think maybe the word permanently, I guess I would think a condition that says, for the duration of the queuing or something like that. Like, I'm assuming for security purposes, you're going to want the door closed most of the time. And so it wouldn't be a situation where you could be ordered to keep it open 24/7. It would just be for the appropriate duration, I guess, as directed by the police.
Okay, I'm fine with that. And, my expectation is that, we're not going to need this, but again, let's address it now and see what happens.
Yeah, we're good with that. We're good with that. I mean, and like Bob's saying, if the police department feels that, between 3 and 5 p.m. in the afternoon we have issues, leave it open during that time, close it overnight. We're open to that. Not an issue.
Can I ask a quick question? Ashley, you have the conditions in front of you. Is there one that says no deliveries are to be made on Route 1A? That they must go to the rear of the building?
No.
There should be one. Remember we talked, Syed, about Amazon and all them are coming around the back?
Yeah, the Amazon trucks could drop off in the back of the property, in the back of our property. Yeah.
All deliveries shall be
All deliveries.
rear of the property.
Yeah, please. Just because you can't pull up. I mean, we may end up with a restaurant, we don't know.
Yeah,
We-
yeah. I mean, yeah,
A
we
Cisco
can.
truck and,
I guess the wording could be like all deliveries to be made on property, on premise.
in rear of premise.
Okay.
I don't want them parking on Route 1A.
Not on Route 1A, on the property
No.
itself. Yeah,
On the property.
on the property.
Okay,
All delivery
That
trucks
works.
to be to
Thank you.
park on the property.
Entirely within the premises.
yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
That works.
And the other one I didn't see is, did I win my pylon so that the cars don't go into the restaurant?
No pylons,
Yes.
but
What do we have in those big concrete things? As long as I get
think
something.
the wording I think we had there was for pylon or the tire
another-
stops, the concrete
Yeah,
stops. Yeah. So
Those
we
are
got
perfect.
that there. I believe that was the
Perfect.
second or third condition.
All right, great, thank you.
No problem, Suzanne. Yeah, that was number 9. Sorry.
Thank you.
Suzanne, just so you know, it was tire stops. That's what they use.
Tire stops, I couldn't remember what they were called, so. I knew up at Starbucks we called them pylons, and I just couldn't remember what it was called.
Okay, does anybody have anything else for discussion on this?
Negative.
The only, I guess, substantive comment that I made had to do with some of the findings, and just I'd like it to be a little more explicit about how the project satisfies the FAR limitation of the residential piece being, excuse me, no more than 2 times the size of the commercial space underneath. So I offered some language to that effect to demonstrate that it's in compliance, and we just need to fill in the numbers based on the final plans, which I would hope that maybe Amy could do, or Ashley, if they have the plans handy.
Sounds good.
Ashley, do you know what he's talking about? Are you familiar with this? You're on mute.
Sorry, rookie move. That part of the zoning, yes, I think that adding that language is good. And you want to cite the plans?
Well, he wants to
I
help.
wanted to just do the math, so to speak, to say, you know, the first floor has a gross floor area of X, and the top 2 floors have
Yes.
of Y, and then
And I think they did that in the floor plans for us.
Yeah, I can send those to you on the latest floor plans we sent in. We made it clear on them. I believe the first floor is like 11,000 something and change, and then we had 11,740, and the second floor is 10.2. So I guess the language that Bob was talking about in the zoning bylaws says that we're in the business zone, we're allowed 2 times the gross floor area. The ground floor. Sorry, the ground floor. We're allowed 2 times the ground floor.
You're
And we're
well
well below that.
That's your minimum. So yeah, we'll add the numbers in there.
Yeah.
Therefore, this proposal meets, the zoning.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll give you those exact numbers later on.
Sounds good.
yeah, my thought there is just that, you know, for future projects, we just want to be clear that that's the dimensional control that we got to meet.
Good. Does anybody have anything else? Okay, that being said, this has been interesting.
Are we doing this right now?
We're doing it, sorry, we're doing it.
I'm gonna.
Here we go.
Diane, do you want to close the hearing?
Yes, I would love to close the hearing. And before you vote, I just want to say thank you to everyone. You guys honestly did a great job, and this is just proof of what collaboration can do. Make something we're really proud of.
Sorry, people like me think of picky stuff, sorry.
No, that makes for a better project. We all know.
Oh, yeah.
So that being said, at the request of the applicant, he requests closing the hearing. And could I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Moved by Suzanne,
Second.
second by Drew. Jane's not here, of course.
I just thought about it. Jane's voice got low.
Okay. Any further discussion on closing the hearing? All those in favor of closing the hearing, and I will do this as a roll call vote, please say aye. Drew Delaney.
Aye.
Aye.
Suzanne Murphy.
Aye.
Bob Fitzgerald.
Aye.
And John Lee, aye. Okay, the hearing is closed. Now, Ashley, is there anything else that you want to add procedurally for the decision?
No, I'm sorry, my fire alarms are going off right now. I hope.
Okay.
So, no, I'm all good. I can try and answer any question.
Is your husband cooking?
The joys of Zooming from home. Okay.
I wish we could smell it cooking.
That's not good, so. Sorry.
Okay. That being said, we do have a draft decision in front of us with some modifications that we made tonight. Amy, are you comfortable with the modifications that we just made?
Yeah, I'm good. That's fine.
Okay. And Bob, you'll work the wording on a few of those things, and then just send it out, if you would, send it out to everybody once we're ready to sign. But we do want to get this moving along. It's this is the first project we've ever done.
I'll send it to Ashley and Amy, and then she can circulate it to everybody.
Yeah, so I believe that the 20-day, sounds like things are under control. The 20-day appeal period is on pause right now. So under the special, with the COVID, like people can't appeal the land, I'm not sure what date it changes. So we want to get it in, but also I think we're still waiting for that 20-day appeal period to be able to start, if that makes sense.
So until we come out of the COVID, let's just say it lasts for another 30 days. Once we hit that 30 days, is it 20 days appeal period after that?
So the period everything's changing every day, but my understanding is currently all decisions that are filed, the appeal period can't start ticking yet.
Okay.
So,
right.
That sucks for Syed.
But he also will have a decision. He will have a decision that's been filed, because it will be filed with the clerk, but the 20-day doesn't start ticking, right?
correct. But, you know, usually through the public process, we learn of neighbors who may appeal, right? So, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. So, okay.
And I'll find out the exact day, Syed, when I.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think the good news is that you'll have a decision, but there's still always the risk that you'll have a longer risk of appeal time. But
Yeah, that's okay.
anything else on this? Okay, so I will. Could I have a motion to accept the draft decision for case number 0220 for property located at 1363 to 1391 Main Street with the modifications described tonight?
Don't we have to have the word special permit in there? In the decision? You know what I mean?
In the vote, I'm looking at the decision. Ashley, what's your thoughts?
You know, like 1391 Main Street special permit, you know, whatever. We need the whole heading, I think.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I mean, normally you don't have the benefit of a decision before you, so I think that
Right.
the relief and the project are all captured in that decision. So referencing.
Okay.
Yeah, Suzanne, just so you know, what it says here is for a special permit under section 5B3G of the zoning bylaws to allow second and third floor residential units located at the address and blah, blah. So,
Okay.
I'm referencing the draft decision and with the modifications.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Usually I'm sitting next to you and I see the whole thing, so I'm not used to it. All right, sounds good. So moved.
okay, so moved by Suzanne. Could I have a second for further discussion?
Second.
A second by Drew. Any further discussion on this? Okay. Ashley, you look like you want to say something.
Oh, the spending time with George wants me to remind you to do a roll call.
Yep.
Murphy, aye.
Okay. So all those in favor, we understand Murphy is in favor. Drew Delaney,
Aye.
Bob Fitzgerald,
Aye.
and I'm John Lee. Aye. So passes unanimously 4-0-0. Congratulations, Syed. I look forward to seeing a nice project down there on Main Street. And Kevin and your whole crew, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good
Good
luck.
luck. Good luck.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Hey, guys. Okay. So the other thing that we had on the agenda for tonight was some minutes of previous meetings, but I don't see it necessary to do those tonight unless there's a compelling reason to do them. Ashley, do we need to? I'm sorry, Amy.
There's a quite a bit of them, but it's up to you guys whether you want to accept or move them till the next
I
agenda.
want to go eat.
Okay, Suzanne wants to eat.
If I could
I'm going
just,
to Ashley's house.
Go ahead, Bob.
I I guess, you know, if people need to run, that's fine. I might suggest that as a practice going forward, that maybe we once we work our way through this pile of minutes, that we hit the previous meeting minutes as the first item on our agenda, so that we don't get in the situation again, because I think we haven't run into appeals or anything like that, but you know, if somebody is looking to appeal a decision and we don't have final minutes, that's not a good look for us. So I think we really need to be a little more timely about it, so that there's a public record about what was discussed and that it's available to people who might be, you know, at basically the subsequent meeting, if we can do it. And I know that that's a challenge, especially when we're still sitting there at 11:15 or 11:30 at night, that the inclination is, let's just push the minutes off until the next meeting. But I think if we just put it first, we could knock them off quickly and move on. But just a suggestion for the future.
Yeah.
I agree, and Amy, if you would in the future, put that to the top of the agenda, the minutes.
Sure.
And I think I'm not comfortable. I want to sit there with everybody at the table when we do these minutes. That's why I haven't been comfortable doing them online. But I know, Bob, I do see that these have built up, but I don't think we're in any violation of open meeting law. But we should clear the plate and get them off first. So, okay. But I want to have everybody with a chance to just go through them and make sure that they're okay with them. I don't want to rush something, particularly this online stuff. I'm still getting used to it. Okay. Anything else for the board members? 2 weeks from now, we have the meeting at the high school. I plan on attending. Bob, will you be attending in person?
That's right. So it's the
27th?
27th. Okay. Yeah, I'll be there.
Just to update you on that, there are some logistical, technical things that we're trying to work through. So we'll have more updates for you, and we'll walk through how everything's going to work when we have more information. So.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know about that walkthrough, Ashley, whenever you want.
Okay.
And Ashley, I got an email today from Mr. Hale from Summer Street. I think you were CC'd on it, asking about moving
We
forward.
didn't talk about it at this hearing, but let's touch base offline and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion made by Suzanne, second. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Drew. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Oh, do I have to do a roll call vote?
Murphy, aye.
Drew Delaney,
Delaney, aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I'm John Lee, aye. Okay. Okay, good night, everybody. Thanks. I can't wait to see everybody in person.
I know.
We'll talk.
Good night.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.